Hi, my name is Sarah and welcome to Move Movement Yoga. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Before we begin, I'm going to leave my Instagram and my Facebook page if you would like to find me in these two places. Otherwise, get ready and we'll get started with today's class. So today's class is a beginner's class. It's a class that's been requested a little bit and I'm really happy to bring and share with you guys. You will potentially need props, that being maybe just a block. If you don't have a block, that's fine. You can substitute with a really firm, thick covered book, or you can also use maybe like a firm cushion. It's not necessary, but if you're beginning your yoga practice and you potentially want to progress further, which I hope that you will, props are a great way to assist you. They don't necessarily limit your practice, and even as an advanced practitioner, I still use props because I think that they're super handy. So if it's something that you're interested in investing in, I would encourage it, but also not completely necessary. So before we get started into the practice, I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about my understanding of yoga and how I like to translate that across to beginners. So a lot of the time I think people look at yoga and they only see the asana or the physical part of the practice, and it can be quite intimidating when you see people who are doing all of these really fancy looking poses, and I totally get that. I was like that when I first begun, but yoga is so much more to that. It's a multifaceted practice. It involves not just the physical component, but our mental and spiritual practices as well. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it just comes back to building a relationship with yourself, having more presence and awareness within your mind, being less reactive towards your emotions, and just being present for the things that are occurring within your life. So yeah, I hope that as we move through today, that you take a little bit of pressure off yourself to look a certain way and focus more on how you feel in the pose. So we will work on an alignment and I'll give cues and adjustments where I can offer them. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just about being in touch with yourself, spending this time on your mat for yourself, being able to connect to the breath, and yeah, just enjoying the process. Yoga isn't about a certain destination. You don't reach a point and that's it. It's all about the journey and how each moment to moment is different and unique, and being present for that. Anyways, that's just what I wanted to say about that. So we're going to begin the class in an easy cross-legged position. So not everyone finds cross-legged position easy. So I find if you have a block or a firm cushion or a book, just to bring it underneath your sit bones. If this is still a bit too difficult for you, you can also sit on a chair, whatever works for you. Once again, honoring your own mobility, your own abilities in your body. But for today, we'll begin here, nice and easy. The block helps elevate the hips, which allows a little bit more lengthening through the spine. And at the beginning of every practice, I do highly encourage that you just take a few moments to tap into yourself and just what's going on right now. Just a few breaths, a few moments of stillness, just to connect to that inner space. So as you sit here in your cross-legged position, I'll just get you to take a moment to close your eyes. Just start to notice the natural rhythm of your breath. So no effort here, no trying to control or manipulate. And as you do this, allow yourself to feel long through the crown of the head. Roll your shoulders down and back. Recognize if there's any tension within the jaw, within the neck, and see if you can just soften into those spaces. I have a tendency to hold tension in my forehead by frowning, so that's a place of awareness I like to focus on. Let your breath anchor you into your body. and find lightness and softness. And then I just want you to close your mouth and take a nice long inhale through your nose. And as you exhale, sigh to release. Over time, you'll begin to understand the relationship of the breath with the body. Inhaling allows us to bring new, vitalized energy within us. And our exhales allow us to let go and release anything that we don't need. So even if you're moving through the simplest postures, you can experience a depth and an intensity within the experience based on your relationship to your breath. So if you find that your mind wanders or you struggle a little bit, bring that awareness to the breath. Let it be rich and full and nurturing. So when you're ready, you can slowly begin to open your eyes. We're just going to take some easy neck rolls. So I just want you to draw your chin towards your chest. Take your ear over towards your shoulder. Take your eye gaze up as you roll your ear towards your other shoulder. Just creating these little circles. Taking it nice and slow. And then changing directions. And then coming back to center. Now if you want, you can remove the block from underneath you. That's what I'm going to do right now. But if you find that sitting in this cross-legged position is still a bit uncomfortable, you can stay on your block or on your chair, whatever it is that you have. From here, we're going to move into a little bit of a side body stretch, twist, sorry. So you're going to inhale, draw your arms up. And then as you exhale, rotate, bring one hand onto your knee and one hand behind you. You want to find length through the crown of the head. So you want to make sure that you're not rounding through the spine, really drawing yourself up, and then maybe see if you can take your eye gaze to the back of your mat or just behind your shoulder. And then as you inhale, draw your arms up. And then exhale, we rotate to the other side. Hand comes onto knee, opposite hand behind you. Once again, feeling nice and long through the spine, making sure that there's no slouching, drawing up, and eye gaze goes over the shoulder. And then nice and slow, we inhale, draw the arms up, and then exhale, come back through center. Then from here, we're going to come into a side body stretch. So bring one hand down on the side of you, and then you're going to inhale the opposite arm up. You want to really reach up, find a lot of length, and then as you exhale, begin to lean. So keep that length, feel it in the side body, and then maybe take your eye gaze towards the ceiling. Inhale draws you up, opposite hand comes down. Inhale draws the left arm up, opposite arm up, and then as you exhale, lean. Once again, really reach through the fingers. Imagine you're trying to reach for something. Create these nice engaged lines. And then as you inhale, slowly come back up. From here, we're going to come onto our hands and our knees. So if you feel that being on your knees is a little bit uncomfortable, what I would recommend is you can fold your mat over, or you can also bring a blanket underneath to support you. Once again, this is about what works within your body, so take this as guidance, but if you need props or you need support, use those as well. You know what? You should know what feels best within your own body. So coming onto hands and knees, we want to make sure that our wrists are over our shoulders and that our knees are underneath our hips. So we create this nice tabletop position. I find I like to keep my toes tucked. This helps with my balance, but you can also have the toes untucked, whatever works for you. With the hands, we want to make sure that the hands are spread really wide. So imagine you've got like a starfish on your hands, spreading the fingertips wide and really gripping into the mat. We want to draw the belly up towards the spine and see if we can create a nice straight line. So neutral spine, a little bit of activation in the shoulders. Connect to the breath, drawing the navel in. And then we're going to move through our poses, cat and cow. So as you inhale, you're going to arc your back, draw your chin towards your chest and round your spine. Pull your hands away from you as you round. And then as you exhale, sink your belly down, arc your heart forward and take your eye gaze in the direction of your heart. Tilt your sit bones back. Inhale, round forward, drawing the navel up, tucking the chin. Exhale, sink the belly, shine the heart forward. Eye gaze goes forward. One more. Inhale, rounding, tucking the tailbone, drawing the navel up, tucking the chin. Exhale, sink the belly. Drop the belly and the heart, and the eye gaze goes forward. Then when you're ready, draw the navel up and you find a neutral tabletop once again. So from here, we're just going to lean back. You're going to keep your toes touched. We're going to come into a toe sit. So for some people, this might feel quite intense, but it's a really great stretch into the feet. So I highly encourage that you stay here for as long as you can, even if it's for 2 or 3 very deep and engaged breaths. So feeling the stretch in the feet, just going to bring your hands out. We're going to roll through the wrists. Changing directions. And then release, coming back down into our tabletop. You can release your feet. Maybe push the tops of the feet down into the mat. And then from here we come back into our tabletop position. Once again, the wrists are under the shoulders, the hips are above the knees. Sorry, that's a little confusing. The knees are below the hips. Nice engaged tabletop position. And then from here, you're going to extend the right leg out. What you're going to do is you're going to begin to rock back and forth, really drawing the heel of the foot back. Once again, making sure that your fingertips are spread wide, gripping into the mat, a little rounding of the shoulders while still drawing the navel up towards the spine. And then you're going to bring that knee down. We go on the other side. Left leg extends, rocking back and forth. Just stretching into the legs. And then coming back into our tabletop position. Then from here, you're going to take the right arm. You're going to bring the hand onto your ear. So we're creating this kind of little triangle with our arms. We're just going to rotate into the shoulders. So with your hand on your ear, you're going to inhale, draw your elbow up towards the ceiling, rotate towards the sky. And then as you exhale, draw your elbow down towards the ground. Inhale draws you up. Take your eye gaze up. Exhale draws you down. One more, inhale. And as you exhale, come back to center. Release the right hand and we go on the other side. So then we bring the left hand onto the ear, bending the elbow. Inhale, draw the elbow up towards the ceiling. Exhale, draw it down towards the mat. Inhale draws you up. Exhale brings you down. Connect to the breath. Inhale. Exhale back down. Release the hands. Then from here we're going to come into our child's pose. So the way this is going to look is you're going to bring the big toes together and you're going to take your knees out wide to the edges of the mat. You're going to draw your hips back as you sink your sit bones down, and you're going to walk your arms forward. So this might be quite intense. If you have your block or your pillow available, you can also use this. Once again, it's about understanding your own end of range and your own pain threshold. So there's a difference between being in an active stretch that challenges us, where we can still connect to the breath, and pushing into a space of pain and discomfort that is not good for the body. So you have to recognize these two differences, and as you develop over time, this space of discomfort where you can still connect to the breath will begin to expand. So while we're here in child's pose, you're going to walk your hands forward and slowly bring your head down. Breathing into the hip crease. At any point in time, you can come to child's pose throughout your practice. It's supposed to be a place of rest, so use it as you need to. And then when you're ready, we slowly come back up into our tabletop position. If you've got your prop, you can move it to the side. From here, we're going to come into downward facing dog. So I'll just go through the alignment of this pose before I move up. So what I want you to do is have your hands about shoulder width apart. You're really and you're going to take them a little bit forward, away from the shoulders. Have the fingertips really engaged, spread wide. When we've got a solid foundation in our hands or our feet, it helps with the balance of the rest of the body. So really grip into the mat with the fingers. You want to wrap your triceps in towards each other. So really imagine turning the armpits inwards to face. You're going to tuck the toes, and then you're going to bend the knees as you pick the hips up. So if this is the first time you're ever doing a downward dog, it can be quite challenging. So what I want you to do is make sure that your feet are about hip width apart. Keep a nice generous bend in your knees. Push the earth away from you with your hands and your feet, and feel a nice straight line from the crown of the head to the tailbone. You don't want any rounding, you don't want to be too far forward, so sink the chest down towards the toes. Breathe into the space, and if it feels good, you can pedal through your feet. You want to make sure there's a bit of an inner rotation with the thighs. So imagine that someone's pulling the inner thighs out towards the back of the mat. Draw your navel in. Push the earth away from you. Feel long through the tailbone and the crown of the head. And then nice and slow, take your eye gaze forward, and you're just going to walk to the top of your mat. However you get there. I'm just going to turn so you can see me a little better. So from here, make sure your feet are about hip width apart. Keep a nice bend in the knees. Once again, you can bring your block or your prop, and we're going to come into a forward fold. So nice bend in the knees. Regardless of where your hands reach, whether it's on your shins or if you can reach the floor, what you're going to do is you're going to work to draw the crown of the head down. You want to shift your weight more into the tops of the toes. Work to draw your hips up. Feel the lengthening in the hamstrings. Breathe. And then nice and slowly, you're going to bend the knees and slowly begin to roll up one vertebra at a time. And then come into your standing position. Now, as important and as it is to have alignment in our postures, it's also really good to remain present for your transitions. So for me, I like to move slow because it means that I can connect my breath and my mind to the movement. Once again, that'll be something that you experience and understand over time as you move, but try to remain as mindful as you can through each movement and transition. So we're going to move the prop out of the way. We're going to come into mountain pose. So this is a really great foundational pose Once again, we're going to start with our feet about hip width apart. Have your toes facing forward. What I want you to do is I really want you to work to engage and activate the feet. So what I'll get you to do is pick up all of your toes, spread them as best that you can, and then just plant the big toe down. Then from here, you're going to try and spread the rest of the toes down, the best that you can, however that looks. Once again, it's all about a progression, so all of this comes over time and with practice and patience. So just be kind to yourself and where you are at this moment. Grip into the mat, feel activation of the feet. You should feel energy moving up towards your ankles and your knees. Keep a little bend in the knees, a little micro bend. If we have our knees locked, we stop the energy from moving up. So keep a natural little micro bend. You want to tilt your tailbone down just slightly. Roll your shoulders down and back, extend through the fingertips, and imagine someone's pulling you up through the crown of your head. So through all these energy lines, we really want to activate. So if you're pulling up, if you're feeling long through the crown, imagine someone's You want to make sure that the heel of the front foot is in line with the arch of the back foot. And we really want to focus more on making sure that our foundation is rooted. So as we move forward, make sure that both edges of the feet are connected down. If you find that your foot is coming up onto the edge, really work to ground that other edge back down. Okay? So from here, we're going to begin to bend into the front knee, and we're going to really open out to the long side of our mat. So we're going to feel a bit of an opening here in the hips. You want to push your energy down. The more that you push down into your feet, the more energy will rebound up and you'll feel stronger in your foundation. Then from here, you're going to extend your arms out, making sure that your wrists are coming out in line with the shoulders. Once again, feeling nice and long through the crown of the head. And then if you're comfortable here, you can begin to take your eye gaze over the middle finger of the front hand. So with your knee, you want to make sure that your knee tracks over your ankle, creating this nice straight line. So don't allow your knee to drop out too far to the side. Work to pull it in alignment with your ankle. And once again, imagine someone's pulling your fingers, pulling you up through the crown of your head, and you're pushing that energy down. Take one last inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. And then slowly you can step forward. Release. Whew. Feel it in the legs. And then from here we'll go the other side. I'm just going to step to this side of the mat so you can see my left side. So take your left foot back at a decent stance. We've got our heel in line with our arch. Our front toes point forward. Our back foot is parallel to the short edge of the mat. We begin to bend into the front knee. You want to make sure that this knee is tracking nice and straight. Not too much to one side. If it is, work to draw it forward. Knee stacked over the ankle. We sink down a little and we open our hips out to the long side of the mat. As you inhale, draw your arms out. A nice straight line from shoulders to finger. Feel long through the crown of the head, and then if you feel comfortable, take your eye gaze over your middle finger. Make sure that both edges of your feet are rooted down into the mat. Connect to your breath. Be present with any of your sensations. Know that even though we're challenging ourselves, this moment is just temporary. And then nice and slow, release and take a step forward. So our next pose, we're going to move into a little bit of a balancing sequence. Not a balancing sequence, sorry, just a balancing pose. So this pose is called tree pose. So what I'll get you to do is take your feet about hip width apart. Once again, fan the toes out. Pick them up first, fan them out, place the big toes down, and then bring the rest of the toes onto the mat. Really grip into the mat with your toes. Feel that energy. Keep a slight micro bend in the knees to help that energy flow up through the rest of the body. We're going to shift the weight into the left side, and you're going to come onto the ball of the right foot. So we're looking like this. So depending on your balance, you can stay here. But if you want to go further, I want you to place your attention on one point, a focal point. This is called a drishti. This is going to help you maintain your balance and remain connected to the breath. With balance, if your mind's wandering, if your eye gaze is wandering, this will create a bit of instability. So once again, focus on that one point. Draw your navel in, extend through your arms. And then as you inhale, I want you to pick your knee up, really push into your standing leg. And then slowly place your foot just underneath your knee on your leg, on your standing leg. So you might feel yourself wobbling a bit. Once again, draw the navel in towards the spine, feel long through the crown of the head, extend through the fingers. I don't know if you can see, but my standing leg is wobbling. It's really working to keep me stable. So relatively simple looking posture, but really working to activate my legs and challenge my balance. And then nice and slowly release. Pedal through the feet. There'll always be a tendency for one side of the body to feel different to the other. That's why it's really important to focus on both sides so that we can balance everything out. I definitely know that my right side is more dominant, so I have to spend more time working to strengthen my left side. So from here we'll go on to the other side. Once again, pick up all the toes, spread the toes, plant the big toes down and spread the rest of the toes down. Really grip into the mat. Keep a slight bend in the knees, feel long through the crown of the head. Shift the weight into the right foot as you come into the ball of the left foot. Extend through the fingers and extend through the crown of the head. Maybe you stay here if you'd like to go a little further. Draw the left knee up slightly, and then as you exhale, plant the sole of the foot just underneath the standing knee. Once again, keep your eye on a focal point to help you maintain your balance. Breathing in and out through the nose. Maybe shaking a little, which is okay. That means the muscles are working, they're growing, they're learning. And then nice and slow, we release, come down. and you can pedal through the feet. So from here we're going to move into our chair pose. So this is another great one for the legs. So once again, I find for me it works a little bit better with my feet hip width apart, but I know that this sometimes could be taught with feet together. I just find with feet together that the stability isn't as great, especially for beginners. So if you want a bit more of a challenge, you can have your feet together. If you want more stability, bring your feet about hip width apart, grip into the mat with the toes, bend your knees, and you're going to draw your navel in slightly. As you inhale, you're going to draw your arms up towards the ceiling, and then as you exhale, you're going to sink as if you're sitting into a chair, but maybe you don't really want to sit down, so you're sitting down but you're resisting. If you look down, you want to check that your knees are just behind your toes, and you don't want your butt to be sticking out too much. So see if you can just tuck your tailbone down, draw your navel in, squeeze your inner thighs towards each other, take your eye gaze up towards the ceiling. Start to shake and feel the heat that you're creating. And then nice and slow, we stand up and we release. Take a nice long inhale. Exhale, sigh. And then nice and slow, we're going to come down onto the mat. So come down onto your sit bones. We're going to start to cool down now. So bring the soles of your feet together. We're going to come into our diamond pose. So depending on what feels good on your body, you can have your feet out here. You know, this could be feeling pretty good in the hips, working to draw the knees down, or you can bring the feet in. You want to keep a nice long spine, and you can bring your hands onto your feet to support you, and you just want to work to draw the knees down. Breathing into the hip space. And then when you're ready, extend the legs out. I'm just going to turn so you can see me. So you're in a seated position with your legs extended. You're going to bring the sole of the right foot just next to the knee. So you're going to work to draw the knee in. So you can stay here if this is good, but if you would like to go a little further, you're going to bring your left hand and you're going to draw that knee in. And then you're going to extend your right arm up, so create length. So you want to imagine yourself pulling up, someone's pulling your hand, pulling the crown of your head up, and then as you exhale, you're going to rotate, bring that hand behind you, and then take your eye gaze to the back of the room, or the back of your mat, sorry. Breathe into the belly, make sure that there's no compression in the lower back by making sure that you're drawing up. And then nice and slow, come back to center. Extend that leg out, and then we go on the other side. So plant the sole of the foot next to the knee. Bring your right hand onto your knee and draw your knee in towards you. As you inhale, draw your arm up, take your eye gaze up, and then as you exhale, begin to rotate. Take your eye gaze towards the back of the mat, or over your shoulder, wherever you're looking. Nice and slow, we release. And then from here, we're going to make our way onto our backs. So once again, just being mindful of your transitions, allowing them to be slow and considerate. And then from here, we're going to come into our happy baby pose. So this is a fun one. It can feel a little silly, but just enjoy it. We're not trying to take ourselves too seriously here. So what I want you to do is, if you can start with one foot. You're going to bring your hand onto the edge of your foot, and you're going to work to draw the sole of the foot up. towards the ceiling. So you can stay here, and what you want to work to do is draw the knee towards the armpit. If you've just got one leg going, you're going to keep the opposite leg grounded. But if you want to go into the full expression, you can grab onto the outer edge of the opposite foot, draw that sole of the foot towards the ceiling, and then draw both knees in towards the armpits. You want to make sure you're pushing your tailbone in towards the mat, pushing the back of the head in towards the mat as well. Breathing into the hip crease, channeling your inner baby. Maybe rolling from side to side if that's accessible to you. If you're only doing one leg, you make sure to hop onto the other side. And then when you're ready, release. And then just draw your knees in towards your chest, wrap your arms around your shins. And then we come into the last posture of our little flow, and that's Shavasana, or our corpse pose. So I believe this to be the most important pose within yoga, one that's also the most challenging for most people. So what I want you to do is I want you to take your legs out wide, take your arms out wide, and windshield wiper your feet from side to side. So seemingly easy, we're just here in this laying position, but what I want you to do is begin to close your eyes. Notice your breath. And just scan your body to see if there's anywhere that you're holding on to any tension. So just as we did at the beginning of the class, check your forehead, check your jaw, check your hands, your thighs, your hips. Move through the body. And just ask yourself, where can I let go? Where can I soften? How can I open myself up, create more space and expansion? And as you do this, try to remain as still as possible. For these few moments, there's no need to fidget. Let the worries of your day be there when you come out. So you can stay here as long as you like. Shavasana is a great place for integration, especially when we begin to work deeper into our yoga practice, our physical practice. So utilize it. It's a very key and important part of the practice. But if not, you can slowly begin to draw your knees in towards your chest and roll onto your side. Slowly make your way up into a seated position. Once again, being mindful of your transitions, taking it slow. No need to rush. Bring your hands in front of your heart in a prayer position, and I just want you to lift your heart towards your thumbs. Feel long through the crown of your head. You can keep your eyes closed if you would like, and I just want you to take a nice long inhale through the nose, and as you exhale, sigh to release. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited for you if you're beginning yoga. It's a really wonderful, beautiful personal journey that you'll experience. I hope that you have taken so much from this class, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.